The champagne glass exploded against the yacht's railing, inches from my head. Sharp fragments of crystal rained down on the polished teak deck. I felt one piece slice across my bare shoulder, a hot, stinging line of pain. "Oops," Melissa said, examining her empty hand like she just noticed the glass was gone. How clumsy of me. Blood trickled down my arm. I pressed my hand against the cut, feeling the warm wetness spread across my palm. The DJ kept playing. Nobody stopped dancing. A waiter walked past with a tray of fresh drinks, carefully stepping around the broken glass like it was a normal part of the evening. "My name is Sophie, and I need to tell you about the night everything fell apart and came back together in ways I never imagined. But first, you need to understand something about my life, about who I really am. I'm the only daughter of James Morrison. That name might not mean anything to you, but in the tech world, it means everything. He built Morrison AI from his garage 15 years ago. Now, it's the third largest artificial intelligence company in North America. Last year, Businessweek estimated our family's net worth at $12 billion. $12 billion. I grew up in a world most people only see in movies. A waterfront estate in Medina with private beach access, cars I couldn't even drive yet, vacations to private islands. My 16th birthday party had 500 guests and a performance by a Grammy-winning artist whose contract included a non-disclosure agreement. I had everything except what mattered, real friends who didn't want something from me. A boyfriend who saw Sophie, not Sophie Morrison, daughter of James Morrison, walking ATM machine and social ladder. Every person who entered my life had an agenda, a business pitch for my father, an investment opportunity, a charity that needed funding, a social connection they wanted, access to. By 27, I was done. So I did something my father called completely insane. I disappeared. Not literally. I didn't fake my death or run away to Europe, but I rented a small apartment in Fremont, the kind with thin walls where you can hear your neighbors arguing about whose turn it is to buy toilet paper. I got a job teaching second grade at Pinewood Elementary, a public school where half the kids qualified for free lunch. I drove a 9-year-old Toyota Camry with a crack in the windshield and a bumper sticker that said, "Teachers change the world." I told people my name was Sophie Morrison. Morrison is common enough that nobody connected me to James Morrison. I said my parents were retired teachers living in Spokane. I wore clothes from Target. I brought my lunch in a brown paper bag. I was just another underpaid, overworked elementary school teacher trying to make a difference. For 22 months, I lived this way. And I was happy. Really genuinely happy for the first time in my adult life. Then I met Ethan. It was at a neighborhood farmer's market on a Sunday morning in June. I was buying strawberries from a local farm stand, trying to decide between 2 baskets, when someone behind me spoke. "Get the smaller berries. They're sweeter." I turned around. The man behind me had dark curly hair, glasses that made him look smart without trying, and a smile that made my stomach do a weird flip thing. "You seem very confident about strawberry selection," I said. "I'm confident about most things." He grinned. "I'm Ethan, and you're holding up the strawberry line." I looked behind him. There was no line, just him. "Oh no," I said, playing along. "A line of 1. How will I ever recover from this social faux pas? Buy me a coffee and we'll call it even." I bought the smaller strawberries. He bought me coffee from a cart nearby. We sat on a bench overlooking the Burke-Gilman Trail and talked for 3 hours. Ethan was 31. He worked as an administrator at Seattle Grace Hospital, managing budgets and department logistics. He'd grown up in Tacoma, the middle of 3 brothers. His parents had owned a small medical supply business that they'd sold a few years ago to retire. He loved cycling, hated horror movies, and had strong opinions about the correct way to load a dishwasher. He asked about me. Real questions. What did I love about teaching? What made me decide to work with kids? What was my family like? I told him about Sophie Morrison, second grade teacher, daughter of retired teachers, normal middle-class background, nothing special, just trying to help kids learn to read and love school. He never questioned it, never seemed suspicious, he just accepted me. Over the next 14 months, we built something real. At least, I thought it was real. Ethan knew me as Simple Sophie, The girl who clipped coupons and got excited about sales at the grocery store, who was happy splitting an appetizer to save money, who thought a fancy date was the Olive Garden on a Saturday night. He never pushed me to spend money I supposedly didn't have, never seemed bothered that I drove an old car or lived in a tiny apartment. He said I was genuine, down to earth, different from the materialistic women he usually met. I thought I'd found someone authentic, someone who loved me for me. My father's executive assistant, Catherine, warned me. Catherine had been with our family for 12 years. She'd helped me through my mother's death from ovarian cancer when I was 19. She'd been at every important moment of my adult life. When I told her about Ethan, she got this look on her face, the same look she got when reviewing contracts and finding clauses that didn't add up. "Sophie," she said carefully, sitting across from me in my small apartment one evening. She looked out of place in her designer suit, perched on my second-hand couch. "Have you thought about what happens when he finds out?" "That's the whole point," I said. "I need to know if his family can accept me without knowing about the money. If they can love regular Sophie, then I'll know it's real." Catherine sighed. She picked up her tea, regular Lipton from a grocery store, not the imported stuff she usually drank, and took a sip. "Sometimes people reveal their worst selves when they believe they have power over someone they perceive as beneath them. Then I need to know that now, Catherine, before I waste more time, before I fall even deeper." "You're already deep, sweetheart. I can see it on your face when you talk about him." She set down the tea. "Your father doesn't know about Ethan." "No, and let's keep it that way for now. And if this goes badly, if his family is everything you fear they might be?" I didn't answer, because I didn't want to imagine that possibility. 4 weeks ago, Ethan came to my apartment looking nervous. His hands kept moving, adjusting his glasses, running through his hair, tapping his thigh. "So," he said, pacing my small living room, "my mother's throwing her annual charity fundraiser. It's on my uncle's yacht. Big event. Lots of hospital board members, donors, medical professionals." I felt my heart speed up. "Okay, and I want you there." He stopped pacing and looked at me. "Officially, to meet my family, my parents, my sister, my cousins, everyone. You want me to meet your whole family? At a yacht party? I know it's intimidating, and I know my family can be a lot. My mother has very specific ideas about things. My father is old-fashioned. My sister Vanessa can be judgmental. My cousin Melissa has no filter whatsoever." He grabbed my hands. "But I want them to know you. I want them to see how amazing you are." Every word he said should have been a warning, but I was in love, and love makes you ignore the obvious. "I'd love to go," I said. He kissed me, and I felt this mix of excitement and dread wash over me. This was it, the ultimate test. If his family could accept Sophie Morrison, elementary school teacher, driving a Camry with a cracked windshield, wearing clearance rack clothes, then maybe this was real. I made my decision. I would attend as regular me, not as James Morrison's daughter. I called Catherine that night. "I'm going through with it," I told her, "meeting his family as teacher Sophie." "Oh, honey," her voice was soft. "Your father doesn't know about this?" "No, and we're keeping it that way. If things go well, I'll introduce them, but I need to be sure first." "What if it goes badly? What if they're cruel?" "Then I'll know the truth about Ethan, about whether he actually loves me." Catherine was quiet for a long moment. "I'm tracking your phone location, just in case." "That's a bit overprotective." "That's my job." The night of the party, I stood in front of my closet for 3 hours. I tried on dress after dress, too formal, too casual, too bright, too plain. Nothing felt right. Finally, I settled on a simple coral sundress I'd bought at Ross for $32. It had a modest neckline, came to just above my knees, and had thin straps that showed my shoulders. I paired it with white sandals that had cost me $19 and small silver earrings. Fake silver, not real. No necklace, no bracelet, no rings except a small one I'd bought at a craft fair for $10. I did my own hair, pulling it into a loose braid that kept falling apart because my hands were shaking. My makeup was minimal, drugstore products, applied with a slightly unsteady hand. Foundation that didn't quite match my skin tone. Mascara, a natural pink lipstick. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. The woman staring back looked ordinary. Nice, but ordinary. A teacher who'd saved up to buy a dress for a special occasion, someone trying her best with what she had. I didn't recognize her. She wasn't Sophie Morrison who'd grown up with personal stylists and designer wardrobes. This woman was someone else. My phone buzzed. Ethan was downstairs. I grabbed my purse, a simple crossbody bag from Target, and headed down. Ethan was waiting by his car, looking handsome in khakis and a blue button-down shirt. When he saw me coming down the stairs, something crossed his face. Disappointment, brief but unmistakable. His smile covered it quickly. "You look nice. Not beautiful. Not amazing. Nice." "Thanks," I said, suddenly self-conscious. I smoothed down the coral fabric. "Is this okay?" "I know it's not." "It's fine," he interrupted. "Perfect. Let's go." But the word fine felt like a tiny rejection. The drive to the marina was 40 minutes of Ethan talking constantly about his family. His mother, Patricia, was very involved in hospital charity work, but had strong opinions about appearances and social standing. His father, Douglas, had built his medical consulting business from nothing and expected everyone around him to meet his standards of excellence. His sister Vanessa worked in pharmaceutical sales and had an eye for fashion. "She'll probably comment on everyone's outfits, so just ignore her if she says anything." His cousin Melissa was getting her MBA and liked to make everything a competition. His uncle Richard owned 3 car dealerships and liked to talk about money. His Aunt Linda was loud and opinionated. Each description made my stomach tighter. "They sound intense," I said. "They're family. They care a lot. Once they get to know you, they'll love you." He reached over and squeezed my hand, but his palm was sweaty. We pulled into the marina parking lot. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Lake Union stretched out before us, dotted with boats and yachts. And there, at the end of the private dock, was the yacht. It was massive. 3 stories of gleaming white with teak decks and huge windows. The name Serenity was painted in elegant gold letters on the side. Lights were strung across the upper decks, twinkling in the early evening light. I could see people on board, silhouettes moving against the glow. Music drifted across the water, something smooth and jazzy. "That's my uncle's yacht," Ethan said. "He likes to go big." We walked down the dock. My white sandals made soft tapping sounds on the wood. I could smell the lake water, fresh but with that slight fishy smell that all lakes have. A seagull cried overhead. As we got closer, I could see the people on board more clearly. Women in designer dresses that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Men in expensive casual wear, the kind that looks simple but costs a fortune. Jewelry sparkled from every direction. And then there was me in my $32 Ross dress and $19 sandals. Ethan took my arm and we walked up the gangplank. The yacht rocked gently beneath my feet and I had to grab the railing to steady myself. The moment we stepped onto the deck, I knew I'd made a mistake. The main deck was beautiful. Polished teak wood gleamed under strings of lights. White furniture was arranged in conversation areas. A full bar was set up at one end, with a bartender in a white jacket mixing drinks. Servers circulated with trays of appetizers, things I couldn't even identify but that looked expensive and tiny. There were maybe 150 people there. Every woman wore designer clothes. I could spot Gucci, Prada, Versace, even from a distance. The men wore polo shirts and slacks that screamed money even though they looked casual. Watches caught the light, Rolexes probably, or something even more expensive. The air smelled like expensive perfume and fresh flowers and money. Everyone was looking at me. I felt Ethan's hand tighten on my arm, not reassuring, tense. A woman near the bar leaned over to her friend and whispered something. They both looked at me and then quickly away, but I'd seen the judgment. "Ethan!" A woman's voice cut through the jazz music. A woman was walking toward us, and I knew immediately this was his mother. Patricia Chen was probably in her late 50s, but she'd clearly spent a fortune making sure she looked 40. Her face was smooth. Too smooth. Her blonde hair was styled in soft waves that looked effortless but probably took hours. She wore a cream-colored dress that hugged her thin frame perfectly, with gold jewelry that had to be real based on how it caught the light. She looked expensive. Everything about her screamed wealth and status. When she saw me next to her son, her smile disappeared. "Ethan, darling," she said, kissing his cheek while staring at me. "And who is this person?" The way she said person made me feel like an insect. "Mom, this is Sophie, my girlfriend. Sophie, this is my mother, Patricia." I extended my hand with a smile that felt too big for my face. "It's wonderful to meet you, Mrs. Chen. Ethan has told me so much about you." She looked at my hand like I was offering her something contaminated. She didn't take it. "Has he?" Her voice was cold. "How interesting." She turned to Ethan. "Darling, did you not explain to her what kind of event this was? She looks like she's dressed for a backyard barbecue." Heat flooded my face. People nearby had stopped talking. They were listening. "I knew it was formal," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "This is actually my nicest dress." Patricia's eyes widened. "Your nicest?" She said it loud enough that more people turned. "Sweet Jesus." A younger woman appeared, Ethan's sister clearly. Vanessa was about 28, beautiful in that polished way that takes money and time. Her white dress was simple but clearly designer. Her dark hair fell in perfect waves. Her makeup was flawless. She looked me up and down with open disgust. "Oh my God," Vanessa said, loud enough for at least 30 people to hear. "Ethan, please tell me this is a prank. Please tell me you didn't actually bring someone dressed like this to Uncle Richard's yacht party." "Vanessa," Ethan started. "No, seriously." Vanessa circled me slowly. I could smell her perfume, something floral and expensive. "Look at her. That dress is from a discount store. I can see the stitching coming loose at the hem. And those shoes?" She pointed at my sandals. "Are those from Walmart?" People were definitely watching now. Some had their phones out, pretending to check messages, but clearly recording. "With all due respect," I said quietly, "I may not have expensive clothes, but—" Patricia laughed. It was a harsh sound that made several people nearby wince. "Expensive clothes? Honey, you don't have any appropriate clothes, period. You look like you wandered off the street." A man who had to be Ethan's father approached. Douglas Chen was tall, gray-haired, distinguished in pressed khakis and a polo shirt that probably cost $300. His eyes assessed me like I was a business deal he was considering rejecting. "Ethan," he said, his voice deep and cold. "What's going on here?" "Dad, this is Sophie, Your what? Your charity project?" Douglas's face hardened. "Where did you meet this girl?" "At a farmer's market." "A farmer's market." Douglas said it like Ethan had admitted to meeting me at a trash dump. "And you thought bringing her here to a professional networking event with hospital board members and major donors was appropriate." I could feel tears starting to burn, but I blinked hard. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. Another woman joined the growing circle around us. This had to be Melissa, the cousin. She was my age, dressed in a sleek black dress with diamond studs in her ears that had to be at least 2 carats each. Her red lipstick was perfect. Her hair was pulled back in a high ponytail. She looked at me like I was something she'd scraped off her designer heel. "Classic," Melissa announced to the growing audience. "Poor girl targets rich guy. Shows up wherever he goes. Pretends to be genuine and low maintenance. Slowly works her way in. And boom, suddenly she's planning a wedding and calculating her divorce settlement." "That's not—" I tried. "Oh, sweetie." Melissa's voice dripped with fake sympathy. "Don't embarrass yourself. We've all seen this before. You Googled him, found out about the family, did your research, showed up at that farmer's market specifically because you knew he went there." "That's not true," I said, my voice shaking. "Then explain why you're here, dressed like that, clearly out of your league in every possible way?" Melissa crossed her arms. "You're after his money. It's obvious." People were laughing now. Actually laughing, the sound mixed with the jazz music, and the gentle lapping of water against the yacht's hull. "And Ethan?" Ethan stood there in silence. I looked at him. "Ethan, are you going to say something?" He opened his mouth, closed it, stared at the deck. "Ethan, maybe we should talk about this privately." "Talk about what?" Patricia snapped. "About the fact that you're dating someone completely inappropriate? Someone with no class, no breeding, no education worth mentioning? Someone who doesn't belong in our world?" Vanessa stepped closer to me, close enough that I could see the pores of her perfectly made-up skin. "That dress probably cost what, $20? And it shows. You look cheap." The words hit like slaps. "Ethan," I whispered. "Please." He looked at the polished teak beneath his feet. Patricia moved even closer. So close I could smell her perfume, Dior, the real stuff. So close I could see where her foundation didn't quite blend into her hairline. "Listen carefully," Patricia said, her voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear clearly. "I know exactly what you are. You're nobody, nothing, some poor girl from nowhere who saw an opportunity. My son deserves someone from his world, someone with education, someone with class, someone who belongs. You." She looked me up and down slowly. "You don't even belong on this yacht." That's when she shoved me. Both of Patricia's hands hit my shoulders, hard. I stumbled backward, my sandals sliding on the teak deck. My arms windmilled, reaching for something, anything to grab onto. There was nothing. I went over the yacht's railing. The world seemed to slow down. I could see the shock on people's faces, could hear someone scream, could see Ethan's mouth open in a surprised "oh." Then I hit the water. The lake was cold. So cold it knocked the breath out of my lungs. I went under, the water closing over my head. Everything was green-black darkness and freezing cold, and the muffled sound of the jazz music from above. My dress tangled around my legs. I kicked hard, trying to reach the surface. My lungs burned. My chest felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. I broke the surface, gasping. Water streamed down my face. My braid had come completely undone, hair plastered across my face. I heard laughter. Looking up at the yacht, I could see people lining the railing. Phones were everywhere, pointed down at me. The laughter was loud now, mixing with shocked gasps and exclamations. "Oh my God, did she just push her?" someone said. "Someone's recording this." "Is she okay?" "This is insane." Patricia stood at the railing, looking down at me with satisfaction on her face. "That's where trash belongs, in the water." Melissa appeared next to her, phone held high, clearly recording. "This is going to get so many views." I treaded water, my dress weighing me down. My shoulder stung where I'd cut it on the glass earlier. The lake water burned the wound. I could taste the slightly fishy water in my mouth. "Ethan," I called up, my voice breaking. He was at the railing now, looking down at me. His face was pale, his mouth opened and closed, but he said nothing. Someone threw a life preserver down. It hit the water a few feet from me. I swam to it, grabbed on, my fingers numb from the cold water. "Get her out of here," Douglas said from above. "This evening is ruined enough." 2 crew members appeared, helping pull me toward the back of the yacht where a small platform allowed access to the water. They hauled me up, my dress dripping, my hair hanging in wet ropes. I stood there on the platform, shivering. Water pooled around my feet. My coral dress was ruined, stained with lake water and algae. My makeup ran down my face in black streaks. My fake silver earrings looked even cheaper wet. Patricia, Douglas, Vanessa, and Melissa stood on the deck above, looking down at me like I was something disgusting they'd found. The crowd had grown. Everyone on the yacht was watching now. Phones were everywhere. I could see someone's phone screen. They were live streaming on Instagram. The viewer count was climbing. 70,000, 80,000, 90,000. "Security," Patricia called. "Remove this person from the yacht immediately." 2 security guards in black shirts started toward the platform, where I stood dripping. I looked up one last time at Ethan. He stood at the railing, gripping it with white knuckles. "Ethan," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Please." He looked away. Something inside me broke, but it wasn't defeat. It was clarity, cold and sharp as the lake water. "I understand now," I said quietly. That's when we heard it. At first, it was just a distant sound, a rumbling that didn't fit with the jazz music and laughter. Then it got louder, louder, louder. People stopped talking, heads turned toward the sound. The water around the yacht started to churn. Waves rocked the boat, making glasses slide across tables and people grab railings. "What the hell?" someone said. Through the growing darkness, lights appeared on the water. Bright spotlights cutting through the twilight. Multiple boats were approaching, fast. A Coast Guard vessel came first, its blue lights flashing, then another. Then a sleek black speedboat with Morrison AI on the side. Then another speedboat, and another. 5 boats total surrounding the yacht. The crowd on the yacht was silent now except for confused murmurs. What's happening? Is that the Coast Guard? Why are they here? Oh my God, look at that boat. That's a custom cigarette boat. Those cost like $500,000. The live stream viewer count hit 200,000. The Coast Guard vessel pulled alongside the yacht. An officer called out through a megaphone. We're responding to a report of assault. Nobody leaves this vessel. Patricia's face went white. The Morrison AI speedboat pulled up to the platform where I stood, dripping and shivering. 2 security guards in black suits stepped off first. Then Catherine, my father's assistant, in a business suit that looked absurd on a speedboat. Then my father. James Morrison stepped onto the platform. He was 6 feet tall, with silver hair and sharp blue eyes. He wore jeans and a simple black sweater, but he carried himself with authority that made everyone on the yacht take a step back. Behind him, more security guards. Catherine immediately wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. It was warm and dry and smelled like home. Are you hurt? My father asked quietly, his hands gentle as he checked my face, my arms, the cut on my shoulder. I couldn't speak. I just shook my head, tears mixing with lake water on my face. Who did this? His voice was quiet, deadly quiet. Dad, I whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You have nothing to be sorry for. He looked up at the yacht deck where everyone stood frozen. But they do. Catherine was already on her phone. I have the footage, multiple angles. Instagram live stream is up to 300,000 viewers. I've already downloaded everything before they can delete it. My father's face hardened. He turned and walked up the stairs to the main deck. His security followed. Catherine stayed with me, holding my hand. The crowd on deck parted as my father walked through. People were stammering, trying to greet him, introduce themselves. He ignored every single one. His eyes locked on Patricia. You pushed my daughter into the lake, he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried across the entire deck. The jazz music had stopped. The only sound was the gentle slap of water against the hulls of the boats. Your daughter? Patricia's voice came out as a squeak. Sophie Morrison, my daughter. You pushed her into the water after verbally assaulting her for 30 minutes. The crowd erupted in whispers. Phones appeared everywhere. The live stream count hit 500,000. Douglas Chen rushed forward, his face pale. Mr. Morrison, please. This is clearly a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? My father's voice was ice. I've been watching a live stream for the past 40 minutes. Your wife called my daughter trash. Multiple people mocked her appearance and clothes. You all made assumptions about her character based on a $32 dress, and then your wife physically assaulted her. Catherine had joined us on deck now, holding a tablet. We have footage from 17 different phones, Mr. Morrison, and the Instagram Live has been viewed by over 600,000 people. Patricia made a sound like a wounded animal. Her hands shook. I climbed the stairs to the main deck, still, wrapped in the blanket, still dripping lake water on the expensive teak. Catherine stayed close to my side. My father turned to look at me, his expression softening. Do you want to say something, sweetheart? I stepped forward. My voice shook, but I needed this. I came here tonight as just Sophie, I said, looking at Patricia, then at Ethan. Not Sophie Morrison, not a billionaire's daughter, not an heiress, just me, a regular person, a second-grade teacher making $38,000 a year, someone who wanted to see if I'd be accepted for who I am as a person. I looked at Ethan, who was staring at me with his mouth open. I wanted to know if you loved me, I said, my voice cracking. The real me, not the version of me that comes with money and connections. But you gave me my answer. You stood there while they destroyed me. While your mother shoved me into the lake, you were silent. Sophie, Ethan's voice broke. He dropped to his knees right there on the deck. Please, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know who you were. If I'd known. Stop, I said. That's exactly the problem. You're sorry because of who I am, not because of what they did to me. If I really had been just a teacher driving an old Camry, you would have let them throw me off this yacht. You're not sorry they hurt me, Ethan. You're sorry you just lost a billionaire. My father made a call, holding his phone so the speaker was loud enough for everyone to hear. Dr. Williams, he said. This is James Morrison. I'm calling about the research grant Morrison AI was planning to provide to Seattle Grace Hospital. $25 million over 5 years for the new AI diagnostic center. There was a pause. I could hear a voice on the other end. Mr. Morrison, yes, we've been so excited about. Cancel it, effective immediately. Douglas Chen made a choking sound. No, please, you can't. I can, my father said coldly. I also think the hospital board should be made aware that one of their administrators, Ethan Chen, stood by while his mother assaulted someone at a social event. I imagine they'll want to review his employment. That will destroy his career, Douglas said, his voice barely a whisper. You should have thought about that before you let your wife push my daughter into a lake. Patricia fell to her knees. Please, Mr. Morrison, I'm begging you. We didn't know. We didn't know who she was. My father looked at her without a trace of sympathy. That's the problem, Mrs. Chen. You should treat everyone with basic human decency, regardless of who they are. The Coast Guard officer approached. Mr. Morrison, we'll need statements about the assault. Of course, my father nodded. My legal team is already on the way. I want full charges filed against Patricia Chen for assault. We have video evidence from multiple sources. No, Patricia screamed. Please, this will ruin everything. Vanessa tried to approach me, her perfect makeup now streaked with tears. Sophie, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean any of it. Please. You have to understand. I understand perfectly, I said quietly. You meant every word. You laughed when your mother pushed me in the water. You called me cheap and worthless. You meant all of it. Melissa was trying to hide behind a group of people, but I could see her silver dress catching the light as she shook. Ethan was still on his knees, but I felt absolutely nothing looking at him. The person I thought I loved had never existed. Catherine touched my arm gently. The car is waiting at the marina to take you home. My father put his arm around my shoulders. Let's go, sweetheart. We walked toward the gangplank. The crowd parted in complete silence. The only sounds were the water lapping against the boats and the distant sound of traffic from the city. Ethan tried one last time. Sophie, please. I do love you. I really do. I stopped. I didn't turn around. You don't love me, Ethan. You love the idea of what I could have given you. There's a difference. I paused. I hope you remember this moment. I hope you remember that you had someone who loved you for real, and you threw it away because you didn't have the courage to defend what was right. We walked down the gangplank. Behind us, I could hear Patricia sobbing, Douglas on his phone, probably calling lawyers, Vanessa crying, Ethan still, on his knees. In the car on the way home, my father held my hand. I was wrapped in blankets Catherine had given me, but I was still shivering. I'm proud of you, my father said, for testing them, for keeping your composure even when they tried to break you. I really loved him, Dad. My voice was small. I know, sweetheart, but he didn't deserve you. Catherine, sitting in the front passenger seat, turned to look at me. The video's everywhere, Sophie. It's already been shared over 1 million times across all platforms. The hashtag #YouYachtJustice is trending #1 on Twitter. What do people think? I asked. She smiled. They're on your side, completely. Patricia Chen is the most hated person on the internet right now. The next 2 weeks were surreal. The video went viral beyond anything I could have imagined. 20 million views across all platforms within 72 hours. News outlets picked it up. Think pieces were written about class, wealth, and respect. Social. Media influencers made response videos. Late-night hosts made jokes about it. The hashtag #YouYachtJustice spawned hundreds of memes, TikTok videos, and Twitter threads. Some comments I saw. The way she stayed dignified while dripping wet. Queen. Ethan on his knees after staying silent the whole time. That's karma. You don't love me. You love what I could have given you. Iconic. That mom learned a 25 million lesson about being kind to people. The fleet of boats arriving was like something from a movie. Coast Guard, private boats, and lawyers. That's how you make an entrance. Seattle Grace Hospital announced that Ethan Chen had been terminated for conduct inconsistent with our values. The official statement referenced failure to intervene during a violent incident and judgment concerns. Douglas and Patricia Chen's names became toxic in Seattle. The medical consulting business lost 3 major clients within a week. Their membership at 2 exclusive clubs was suspended, pending review. Invitations to charity galas dried up. Vanessa was fired from her pharmaceutical sales job. Her Instagram, which had been her side hustle with brand sponsorships, lost 200,000 followers. Every company she'd worked with dropped her. Melissa withdrew from her MBA program. The video was the first thing that came up when you Googled her name. The assault charges moved forward. Patricia's lawyers tried to get them dismissed, arguing it was an accident, but with 17 camera angles and a live stream watched by over 1 million people, it wasn't going well for her. I did one interview, just one, with a local Seattle news station. The interviewer, a kind woman named Rachel, who'd been reporting for 25 years, sat across from me in my father's home office. "Sophie," she said gently, "what message do you want people to take from this?" I'd thought about this question for days. "Treat people with kindness," I said simply. "Not because of who they might be, or what they might have, but because it's the right thing to do. Whether I was a billionaire's daughter or actually a teacher making $38,000 a year, I deserved basic human respect. Everyone does." The interview was viewed 12 million times in 5 days. 6 months later, I was back at Pinewood Elementary teaching 2nd grade. I'd stopped hiding who I was. My father and I had announced a major donation to the school district, $50 million to fund arts and music programs that had been cut due to budget constraints. I was open about being Sophie Morrison now, but I still taught, still showed up every day to help 7-year-olds learn to read, still brought in snacks for kids whose parents couldn't afford them, still stayed late to help struggling students. The other teachers treated me the same as before. The kids didn't care about money. They just cared that Ms. Sophie did fun science experiments and let them pick the read-aloud books on Fridays. That's where I met Daniel. He was the new music teacher the school had hired with part of my father's donation. He showed up with a guitar, a genuine smile, and a lesson plan that had the kids singing within 5 minutes. During lunch in the staff room one day, he sat down across from me with his brown bag lunch. "You're Sophie Morrison," he said. My heart sank. "Here we go." "Yeah," I said carefully. "That's me." "Cool. Can you pass the salt?" I stared at him. "That's it? That's your reaction?" He looked confused. "What reaction do you want? You're a teacher. I'm a teacher. We both work at an elementary school and make approximately the same mediocre salary. Want to compare how many pencils we've bought with our own money this month?" Something in my chest loosened. I laughed. 72 pencils. You? Only 60. You're beating me." We started having lunch together every day, just 2 teachers complaining about standardized testing and comparing notes on which kids needed extra help. Daniel didn't care that I was Sophie Morrison, daughter of billionaire James Morrison. He cared that I stayed late to help Marcus learn his multiplication tables, that I donated books to the classroom library, that I genuinely loved teaching. 3 months later, he asked me to dinner. Not anywhere fancy. A pizza place near the school that gave teachers a 10% discount. "I like you," he said over pepperoni slices. "I like that you genuinely care about these kids. I like that you get excited about teaching fractions. I like that you know the names of all the janitors and cafeteria workers. I like you, Sophie." "Just Sophie?" I asked. "Not Sophie Morrison?" "I mean, that's part of who you are, but it's not the interesting part." He grinned. "The interesting part is that you do a really terrible British accent when you read Harry Potter to your class, and you refuse to acknowledge how bad it is." I laughed, a real laugh that came from my chest. "We've been dating for 3 months. Now. He's met my father. He's been to the house. He's seen the lifestyle. And he treats me exactly the same as he did when we were just 2 teachers sharing lunch in the staff room. Last week we went to a charity fundraiser, a formal event where I had to wear an evening gown and jewelry. Some of my father's business associates were there, asking Daniel questions about his career and background. Daniel answered honestly. He was a music teacher making $42,000 a year. He'd gone to a state school. He lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Ballard with a roommate to afford rent. He drove a 12-year-old Honda Fit. He didn't try to make himself sound more impressive, didn't name drop or exaggerate. Just answered their questions and then asked about their work. Later, in the car going home, he turned to me. "Your dad's friends are intense," he said. "I know. I'm sorry if they made you uncomfortable." "I'm not uncomfortable," he shrugged. "They can think whatever they want about a music teacher dating a billionaire's daughter. Doesn't change how I feel about you." That's when I knew. This was different. This was real. I don't regret testing Ethan and his family. I only regret the 14 months I wasted on someone who didn't actually love me. But that night on the yacht taught me something crucial. My father was right. Money doesn't define your worth. Character does. People who judge you based on your clothes, your car, your job title, they were never worthy of knowing the real you to begin with. Sometimes the worst experiences teach you the most important lessons. And karma? Karma is absolutely real. I saw Patricia Chen 3 weeks ago. I was at a grocery store in Ballard buying supplies for a class party. She was in the checkout line ahead of me. She was wearing jeans and a plain sweatshirt. No jewelry, no designer clothes. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked smaller somehow. Diminished. She saw me. Our eyes met. She dropped her basket and walked out of the store, leaving her groceries behind. I didn't chase her. I just paid for my class party supplies and left. Some lessons can't be taught. They have to be experienced. Ethan learned that silence in the face of cruelty makes you complicit. Patricia learned that physical violence has consequences, no matter how wealthy you are. Vanessa learned that bullying someone for their clothes can destroy your own reputation. And I learned that the right person will defend you, even when it's hard, even when it costs them something, even when everyone around them is being cruel. Daniel proved that to me. Last month we were at another fundraising event. Someone made a snide comment about teachers who date above their station. Daniel didn't get defensive. He just smiled and said, "Sophie could date anyone she wants. She chose me. I consider that the best decision she's ever made, and I'm not going to let anyone diminish that." The person walked away embarrassed. Later I asked Daniel why he defended me like that when he usually doesn't engage with rude people. "Because you deserved it," he said simply, "and because it was the right thing to do. If I had stayed silent, what would that say about me?" Everything. It would say everything. If you believe that nobody should be judged by their appearance or bank account, smash that subscribe button. Hit the bell so you never miss stories like this. Comment below. Would you have revealed your identity sooner, or would you have let them keep making fools of themselves? What would you have done? Share this with someone who's ever been judged unfairly. Someone who's ever felt small because of someone else's cruelty. Your worth isn't determined by your clothes, your car, your bank account. It's determined by your character, by how you treat people when you think nobody important is watching, by whether you stand up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. That's something nobody can ever take from you. This is Sophie's story, and maybe it's a little bit of yours too.